Okay guys, welcome back to Mason Fix It, and in part 1 of this build, we worked on the front steering and suspension. So this video is going to be part 2, and we are going to be working on the rear suspension, so let's get started. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do is mount this axle to the swing arm. And then we also need to run a support for this bearing because this axle has a differential in a side, so it doesn't run straight through there's gears in our side, so we want to support the center of the axle. And then we also need to drill holes to mount the pillar blocks. I made this little bracket that will bolt to the bracket that supports the bearing, and you can see that I tapered it so it will match up with the taper on this bracket, and you kind of see how that just will all go together to bolt up and support that band there. And then I'll weld in a piece of metal that will attach to that to support this band. Okay, so I got the support welded in, so now I need to attach the swing arm to the frame. And this is what I came up with, and let me show you how this will go. And this is kind of how it will go. These two outer pieces will get welded to the swing arm, and the center piece will get welded to the frame, and it just will allow the swing arm to pivot. It's not the best design, but it will work for what I'm doing. Okay, so I'm getting ready to weld the swing arm onto the frame, and of course you want it to be centered. So the way I figure that out is you minus the width of the swing arm from the width of the frame, and then you divide it by 2, and then you just make your marks, whatever that number is. And then it should line up. Okay, so before we weld this in, we want to make sure that everything is aligned. So what I did is I measured from this back wheel to the frame, and then from the front wheel to the same frame piece. And you want to make sure that it's the same for each side. And then you also want to check from the same frame piece to the axle on each side and make sure that each side of the axle is the same. Well, I was welding those in, and this was laid across a hot piece, and it burnt through, and I guess broke the tube that the wire feeds through. So let me see if I can't fix this. Okay, so I got the swing arm welded on. So now I need to make a frame that will kind of go over the swing arm, so I have something to mount the shocks to. And then to help us stiffen up the frame, I'll probably run some tubes back, and that will all also help support the part that goes over the swing arm. Okay, so I ran these tubes to kind of help support the front end and to support the back end. It kind of ties everything together. And then you can kind of see how that will go. And I will mount a bed or a storage rack. And the motor will mount to the swing arm. And then for the shocks, they will probably kind of go kind of like that. I'm kind of thinking that will still be close enough in where it should still be pretty strong. Okay, so this is kind of a tricky piece to get lined up. So I like it to start by tacking in one side, and then you can kind of wiggle it to where you want it, and then you want to take measurements from multiple places. Make sure it's pretty lined up, and then you also want to make sure that it's straight with the frame. And then last thing to do is just to eyeball it and make sure it looks pretty straight, and it does. I might have to make a few adjustments, but I think that's pretty close to where I want it. Okay, so I got the shocks kind of how I want them, and it actually feels pretty good. So I'm gonna weld that in. Okay, so I got the shocks welded in. So now I'm gonna pull off the axle and see if I can't swap out the sprocket. Okay, so right now I'm working on the brakes, and I got my caliper tacked in. And when you tack in your brake caliper, make sure to hold the brakes to keep it centered. And since mine doesn't have the brake lines ran yet, well, what I used was kind of pressed air to keep it centered, and you can see I'm actually just using a sprocket for the disc, because that's what I have. Okay, well, that's going to do it for this video. Next video, part 3, we will either be putting in the steering column or putting in the powertrain. So stay tuned for the next video on this. But remember to please like, subscribe, and share this video, and thanks for watching.